Right. Do we want... I guess we could have our assistant for this. We could have our assistant for this. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. What is that? What is that tune? No 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 no. It might be Genshin as well. No idea. Is the camera right there?
Welcome to the Play Compile live stream.
The camera should be fine there, I guess. Just move it up there a little bit more. How about that? That seems fine to me. That seems fine to me. Is it good for you? Is it good for you? What's good for you is good for me, is good for you, is good for me, is good for me. Okay, so we're actually starting off in cursor today, where I left my move gizmo on. Sorry. We're starting off in cursor actually today. Cursor. I've been having quite a bit of luck with cursor, so I'm not really a Java guy. I'm not really a JavaScript guy. In fact, I suck at Java. It can't remember my file. Are you kidding me? Open file. Open sesame. I guess we'll still work in the downloads version. Oh, it's loaded now. What? Okay, it's loaded now. How do I get chat up? I'm new to cursor. I'm actually new to cursor. Is it this one? No. That one? There we go. Okay, so let me show you what we've got. Let me show you what we got. What we got. Okay, so this is my story builder, made entirely in HTML and JavaScript, I believe. I didn't actually make it. That's the best part. I designed it, but I didn't make it. So ChatGPT started making it. And then I kind of started messing with it, and then I felt a little bit overwhelmed because I'm not a JavaScript guy, and I got as far as like getting to like pauses, and no, I did pauses. So Jibbity made the speakers. I did the pauses manually myself to prove that I could do it, and then halfway through transitions I was like, holy shit, I've got to do transitions and functions. And I came across a bit that was confusing me. I was like, if we have an array for this, why don't we have an array for the other one? And I couldn't understand what was happening. And I was like, I kind of want AI to finish this for me. But Jibbity had run out of the premium Jibbity responses. So I was like, I don't really want to give it to dumb Jibbity that has no history of the project. Is it time to load up Cursor again? I bet Cursor's good at JavaScript. And Cursor absolutely killed it. So let me explain what this is first. So I want a way to write story for all my future games, maybe, especially for iDLE, right? I want a way to add story to all my to iDLE. And the basic idea is we can add some dialogue here. Oh shit, yeah, I've got it. It won't let me. It's got that now. I was like, yeah, and there's no speaker, so I would need to add a speaker. So it's working as intended, right? Let's call him Harry. Okay, and now Harry should show up over here. There's Harry. Then it lets me add a new dialogue box. Let's add a Wendy. Right, so I can put my characters over here so that there's no typos, and then I can have a conversation between Harry and Wendy, right? And if I want to, I can move the blocks around as well. I can reorder these blocks. And I can have scene blocks, right, where I set a background and music and maybe even an optional transition, an optional scene text. So I can move blocks, I can delete blocks, everything is managed by, like, think of this as like asset references, right? These are like asset references. So I can have pauses such as idle, and I can have pause such as talking. You could also, we could call these animations as well, but whatever, it's both really, pauses or animations. What animation do we want to play during this one? You could have frightened, okay, and then add that. And then if we want to add one of these pauses, we could have Harry in the talking animation, Wendy in the frightened animation. Then it lets me manage the assets, right? It lets me manage all my animation clips, all my transitions, all my speakers, characters and stuff. And I don't have to worry about typos, right? I can just select them from the drop down boxes. So that's nice for constructing. It means I can sort of get story in quickly and easily and move it around if I want to. But the big, if I click export story, the big functional thing I was aiming for is this, which is we can export the story into a custom syntax developed by moi, and there's nothing really complicated about it. It's just curly bracket, and then we let it know that we want a pause of Wendy frightened, and then Wendy says this, and then a pause. Actually, that's not working. Wait, yes it is. It's all 3 blocks, right? Yeah, it's all 3. Yeah, it is all 3 blocks. It's fine. I felt like this, it's just because it looks so short, but yeah, no, that's correct. And then we can construct a new scene, and then all the data that's in there will be in here. So essentially, what I can do is on the Unity side, I can create a parser that will read these script files, and it knows exactly what to do. And we match the asset names that are here with assets in Unity, and then it just knows what to do, right? It's like, Harry, let me find Harry. Oh, there's Harry. Harry is this asset here. He's on the server. Let me pull Harry in. Okay, there's Harry. He needs to say this. I need to find this animation, right? And we can program all of that to just happen dynamically. But I need to be careful because, like, I need to think about any time that we want to go off script, pun intended, which is why I added this functions, right? We can add a function name. And all that is basically a string that says, you know, I want you to do something. So if we want to handle a special circumstance like, I don't know, girl explodes or whatever, we can add the girl explodes function to the script, add that function, girl explodes. I could give it an argument if I want. I don't really know, start, right? And then in our story script, we have also, I don't know if that scroll bar should scroll like that, because then I have to scroll all the way to the top to handle my scene buttons. Yeah, so what I'm gonna ask Cursor to make some changes. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask it next, can we make the very top story builder block, can we make the very top left story builder section float at the top and only scroll the editable blocks under it vertically? Okay, so as long as we communicate clearly and we have backups up the wazoo, which we do, I think we can pretty much trust Cursor to handle a lot of this stuff for us. It may seem like cheating, and it is, you're right, congratulations, it is cheating, but that's fine. So I think it did that. Did it do it? It normally says, do you want to accept the changes? Oh, we can apply to the editor. There we go. And then it asks, do we want to accept the file? I don't know whether that also saves it, but just in case, I'm going to save it anyway. So let's just refresh the page and make sure that as we add lots of blocks, it won't let us add dialog blocks if the previous one was invalid. That's on purpose. But we can add other ones. Okay, there we go. Now this section floats on top. So this script could be 6,000 pages long, and I could be all the way at the bottom. And if I want to save or load a story, I don't need to scroll all the way up through my script. That's way better. Yep, that's a good change. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I need a way to bring characters in and take characters out. So if you've ever played one of these like visual novel games, you know, like you'll have like, let's say you have, let me just load Paint. So let's say you want a scene, right? You have Wendy here and you have John here. Big John. Look at how bulky, look at how meaty and big he is. Oh, big Chad John, right? And so you want a conversation between Wendy and John. And then halfway through the conversation, suddenly John's wife shows up. John! Who is this woman? Who is this? Why? Why do you have your big Chad muscles out for her? Oh my god. Or whatever, right? So you want to bring another character into the scene. So like you start with these two and then you want to bring one in. Or maybe Wendy fucks off and goes to the shop. Maybe Wendy leaves John. Oh no, it's Wendy's wife who would leave John, is it? Well, whatever. Wendy leaves the conversation to go to horny jail because she realizes she's a sinner. She's a horny little sinner in a yellow t-shirt. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, right? So we need to be able to bring characters in and out mid-scene, basically. So now we need to think of a structure that allows us to do that. So the first thing I'm probably going to do to make life easy for myself is I'm probably going to allow the system. What I'll do in Unity, probably. Well, I need a middle block, don't we? We need a center stage because often there might just be one character in the scene. So we'll have a center placeholder for when there's one character. And then I'll probably allow another character to the left. And another character to the right. Right, so that we can have 3. However, if we have 2, so if we use placeholders like this, right, then this would be 1. Good morning, Canthea.
On Twitch, Canthea says, good morning.
Good morning. Right, so this would be 1 character in the scene. We want them in the center. If we have 2 characters in the scene, we could use this one and this one.
Canthea says, check your Discord when you have a chance. I have redhead built.
We could use this one and this one. I thought you were skipping? You were skipping redhead. Oh my god, why is she with you? I turned my back on her for 5 minutes and she's ran off and gone with you. That's ridiculous. Unbelievable. And you've stuffed her full of your materials. That's gross. I can't believe you did that to me. I should ban you right now. Right. Now we might want up to 4, but if we add a 4th, there's no way now to add a 4th and keep everything centralized. So this is where things get a little bit trickier. So if we want 4, we'd probably want to use a space here, a space here, a space here, and a space here, right? So then 4 would become and obviously 3, 3, 3 would be 3. 3. We'd use that one. And we'd use that one. But then 4, this would have to be exclusive for 4. Or we could use these two for 2. That might be better for 2, actually. So we can either use those... We can either use those 2 for 2, or we could use these 2 for 2. I suppose it depends on how close you want the characters, I guess. So I think we should call these formations. And let's call this one 2A. And then let's call this one 2B. Okay, so now we've got 1, 2A, 2A, 2B, 2B, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 4. So essentially we have 5 formations, right? Redhead give massive attack buff. She replaced Nicole for me. She in my Miyabi team. You were using Nicole on your Miyabi team. Strange. I don't know what I'm doing. You probably know what you do more than I do. I just do what I want, basically. I don't take it too seriously. Well, that's ironic because if I do end up getting her outfit, let me guess. Did you get a swimsuit? I think I already know the answer to this. I bet she's in the swimsuit on your Discord. I bet she is. I'm betting you any money right now that she's in her swimsuit on the Discord you sent me. How much do you want to bet? Okay, I was wrong.
Canthea says, lol.
Damn it. No, I'm actually glad because I'd be jealous. But you know I'm probably going to get it. I'm probably going to get it at some point. So what stats have you got? I mean, not that it really matters. And normally 201 is not a lot. I feel like that's a lot. Did you get a freaking weapon as well? Did you get a weapon?
Canthea says, she scales with attack, don't have her weapon.
Okay, you put a Kaboom the cannon on.
Canthea says, you want her with 3k attack.
Well, I'm busy. I'll get to it. There's no rush. Attack's not going anywhere. Right, so we could call these formations.
Canthea says, I do plan to get swimsuit.
Hang on, I don't know if the front door just went or not. Let me check. You do plan on getting swimsuit? Of course you do. Of course you do. Okay, no, I didn't hear the front door. I thought I did. Okay, so their formations. Okay. See, there's a few ways of doing this though, right? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We would have 7 slots, but 5 formations. But then you might want a character in a specific slot anyway. Slot 1, slot 2, slot 3, slot 4, slot 5, slot 6, slot 7. So we would need a better naming scheme for these, because when I'm building story blocks, I don't want to have to think too hard about it. I don't want to get slots mixed up. So I think we should call this one center. Is kind of obvious, that one. That's the easy one. If this is far left, we could call these left and right. We could call it near left. So we'll call it near left.
Canthea says, I am here just taking train BRB.
Near right. We'll call this one left. Okay, no worries. We'll call this one right. We'll call this one F left. And we'll call this one F right. Fright! Okay. I have set up 7 position markers for speakers in Unity. I have set up 7 position markers for speakers in Unity. These are named F left, left, N left, center, N right, right, and F right. Oh, I guess we could add position to the dialogue itself, because they're going to come in and then do, yeah. Can we add these under position? The only problem with that is, okay, so I see a problem with this. I need a way to control when characters enter and exit scenes. I could add a position to dialogue, but then characters will only appear once they speak. I'm likely to want to start a scene with many characters in the scene. Let's add a new block to handle these. I don't even know what they're called. Okay, I've set up 7 positions. I've set up 7 position markers for speakers in Unity. These are named F left, left, N left, center, N right, right, F right. I need a way to control when characters enter and exit scenes or move positions. I could add a position to dialogue, but then characters will only appear once they speak. I'm likely to want to start a scene with many characters in the scene. Unless we do a drop down for enter, exit. I don't know. Let me think about this. Now I think that could work. So if we want them to move from one slot to the next, so let's say we want our character to start here. If we want our character to start here and then walk over here, then we could just put the character in this slot and then put them in this slot, and then we can build our story system to know that it has to transition the character from its previous position to its new position. If we want the character to leave, we simply double call, looks like Uma Musume now. We want the character, we double call the character in the same slot, which basically turns them off. I've set up 7 position markers for speakers in Unity. These are named far left, left, near left, center, near right, right, far right. I need a way to control when characters enter and exit scenes or move positions. I could add a position to dialogue, but then characters will only appear once they speak. I'm likely to want to start a scene with many characters in the scene. Or in it. Let's add a new block to handle these character formations. We'll call it formation, and it should list all 7 slots with character drop downs next to them. I'll treat it as an on-off switch, so we won't need to separate appear disappear argument for them. Okay. I think that's clear. Great idea. Here's how we can implement a formation block in your editor. Add a new block type called formation. It should display all 7 position slots: far left, left, near left, center, near right, right, far right. Each slot has a drop down to select a speaker or none. When exporting, output a line like formation. Yeah. Add formation to the block, adding UI. I wonder why it's not auto-applying the changes. Okay, so we now have a formation block. Yep, we've got our slots far left, left, near left, center, near right, right, far right. And then when we add characters, so let's say we want Wendy. Wendy should now be selectable. Ah, okay, Wendy is not selectable. Let me try updating. Peter. Okay, now Peter is selectable. Okay, yeah, so it is working properly. Okay, brilliant. Yeah, I think that's the missing piece of the puzzle, actually. So we have 7 position slots now. We can turn characters on or off, or we can move them from position to position. So we could actually handle a scene where we have a character in the center, and then they move over and somebody else like walks in the middle, like they're moving out of the way for a new person to come in, and we can do all this with our story block system. That's actually awesome. That's actually really cool. I think that's it then. I think we have everything we need. I just need to make sure that formations are saving in the system as well. So we would have Peter walks in on the left, for example. Peter can't be in 2 places at once, mind you. And then Peter speaks. Hello, my name is Peter. Export the story. Output 8. Formation. Far left equals Peter and the rest are blank. Perfect. That is cool as frick. I will ask for a change though, because this seems like a lot of wasted space. So I might ask if we could have, okay, the formation block is working great, but it does seem to take up a lot of vertical space. If we place the drop downs in columns, their position is relative to their represented position. I think this would be better. Be much better. Right, so we're asking it to change. It's actually a lot of work there. I didn't think it would be that much work. This was automatically updating my script yesterday, but now it's not. Okay, so now our formation block, that's function. There we go, kind of, but now it's probably because I don't have any speakers, right? They are in columns now, which is much better. And now we can see where they are, right? If we want a character in the center, we literally click the center block. Like, these actually will represent their actual respective positions. That's what's so cool about it. I'm glad I had that idea. That's very intuitive. Yeah, I like that a lot. So we need to add some characters. So we'll say Peter, John, Mary, and Bob, and we'll add a formation. Yeah, give me a sec. Right, so now we can put Peter in center. Bob hasn't showed up because we have to refresh, but whatever. If we had a new formation, Bob should show up. Yeah, and then we can just get rid of that block. There we go. So we'll do Peter in center, Mary in left, John in right, and we'll put Bob in near right. Alright, export the story, make sure it's all working correctly, and then I gotta go help my mom with something. I wish I could just get on though, that would be nice. Okay, so left Mary, yeah, that looks right. Center Peter, end right Bob, yeah, looks great, looks brilliant. Yeah, I think we're good, and that takes up a lot less space. So now when we're doing dialogue, that doesn't take up like, you know, half a page of script, right? We can see where characters are. Yeah, I like that a lot actually. I'm just wondering if we have a long speaker name, do these columns widen to allow for that? Jonathan Beetroot, Sebastian Roguelike. What a great name. Oh yeah, they do. Oh, that's even better. Yeah, look at that. That's awesome. I put Sebastina. Oh my god, that's an even better name. Sebastina. I don't even think that's a real name, but I like it. Sebastina. Alright, I'll be right back. Oh, fuck. Could do without this. Right. I'm too fucking old for this. Right. Okay, I think we're good. So let me make sure we've got this backed up a billion times, because this looks awesome. Really happy with that. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Okay, so now we've got to make this an actual system in Unity that can understand the scripts. Okay. What's that? Swear you just updated. Oh, whatever. Why does this thing update so much? It's fucking video codecs. Like, the video codecs actually changed this much. It's just insane to me. Why does this thing update like twice a month? Like, you would think like once you make a video codec, like you're just gonna leave it, right? If it plays videos, then it plays videos. Job well done, great. Let's move on with our lives. But instead, like, no, it gets like 4,000 updates a year. It's like, but why? Did it not run? Oh, you fucking pain in my ass. Run. It's already running. Is it? Took its sweet ass fucking time. Fast update, sure. Not fast enough. Shut up. Right. Shut up! Give me my life back. Right. Fuck's sake. Okay, so we're inside Unity. Yay. Right, so this is a great example, right? So this bedroom is like the starting scene of the game, right? This is where the menu is and everything. But this could very well be a scene where we want a dialogue scene to take place, right? Something like this. And so we would set our position markers up and whatever, right? So essentially, I think what I need to start off with is like, I think I need to start with like a floor. Let's use a cube. I'll set it at Y0. Okay, let's move it away from the bedroom. Okay. So this cube is going to represent a floor. For our scene, and we use wide cameras, so we're going to try and make it somewhat wide. Okay, and we're going to call this story scene. Somewhat line it up with that, I guess. Not that it really matters. Okay. And story scene is going to need a camera. Right, so now our story scene can see the floor. And the skybox. Which we're going to set to black. Okay, so now we have a virtual space that we can place our actors in. So the next thing to do is to create these position markers, right? So if we look at our formations, the first thing we want to do is create our formation markers so that we can spawn actors on them, right? So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create a new game object, which I'm going to call raw spawn, and we're going to create a script in tools called raw spawner. And what raw spawner is going to do is going to allow us to spawn a prefab, which we will give a cube. With an equal amount of distance between each spawned item. So the first thing raw spawner needs is a prefab. So we want a public game object for prefab, which we'll assign in the inspector. And then what we want to do is we want to spawn the prefab an X number of times, and then we want control over the distance between each spawned object. So we need an integer of quantity, and in this case we want 7. We want 7 cubes that act as position markers for each actor in the scene. So we want a public int of 7. We want a public float of spacing, which for now I'll just set to like 11f or whatever. And then on start, we want to spawn a cube X numbers of times at X spacing, right? And then as we change spacing in update, I want the spacing, the positions of the cubes to be updated. So we're also going to need access to system collections generic, so we can have access to a list. And we're going to hold a private list of game objects which manages the objects in our scene. So we've got private list of game objects, spawns equals new. Okay. So all we need to do is we need to say for int I equals 0 to quantity. And I'm not used to doing I loops in Unity. I normally use for each. How the fuck do you actually... It came up as well, for int. Let me just type for because it gives me the structure. Yeah, I really don't use a lot of for loops. Okay, there's a semicolon. Okay, to I is less than spawns.count. Well, we don't want spawns.count. We want quantity. But yeah, aside from that, that's what we want. And then we increment I by 1. And then we've got I as our index driver. So we want to instantiate prefab. Hang on. Let's create a new game object. So we want new spawn. New spawn equals instantiate prefab. And we'll say new spawn dot name equals I2 string. Okay. Then we want new spawn's transform position. Now it depends what axis we want to work in for this, because I'm making this function specifically for this scene. Let me just test it and see which axis, because I don't know which way around we are right now. So that's how I... Okay, it's the X. It is the X. Okay, so we want X, right? So we want new spawn transform position equals new vector 3, and then we want transform. No, we don't. We want X. Okay, we need. I know what we need to do. We need to declare new float stack spacing equals spacing, and then we use stack spacing as the X, and then I don't know why that's there. Then we do transform position Y because we want to keep that, and then we want transform position Z because we want to keep that as well. Okay, beautiful. Then we can say stack spacing.
Since ads are about to run on Twitch, how about I tell you a joke?
Equals stack spacing plus spacing. Right, so we add spacing onto itself. for
But he
each
said it's
iteration.
just a bug going around.
Okay, so that should spawn all the cubes at said distance, but what I want to be able to do, we also need to add that game object to our list, right? We're going to say spawns add new spawn. And then in update, we can say for each game object, get spawn in spawns. We want to say this basically, just this part, but we also need the stack spacing declaration here. I said new spawn, that now wants to be get spawn. There we go. So what that basically does is allows us to spawn some objects with a spacer as defined in the inspector, and we can adjust that spacer in real time. So let's use this cube as an example. So these are going to be our position markers to mark positions of actors, essentially. So I'm just going to set this to like 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. I'm just going to move it out of the way for now so that it's like well out of our way, just so we can use it as a prefab. So my row spawn, I'm going to give the cube as the prefab, and then I'm going to, yeah, we want 7 and our spacing at 11. Let's just run it and see what we get. Alright, so here goes nothing. Let's give it a quick save. Press run. We should get, I don't know where they're going to spawn from though. Is that them? Where are they? Oh, yeah, I see one. I think they all have the same position. Do they all have the same position? They do all have the same position. Didn't I update the transform position though? Yeah, put it on this transform. Okay, I'm dumb. Let me just ask Jibbity. I'm trying to create a spawn script which spawns multiple objects with a defined space between them, which can be altered at runtime. It's not working. Alright, I'm dumb. Let's just give it a Jibbity. Your script logic is mostly correct, but it has a small oversight and might cause it to appear as if it's not working. You're setting the X position of each spawned object relative to stack spacing, but you're not accounting for their initial index anymore in update. Oh yeah, that's true. That means if you change spacing at run... Oh yeah, that's true. That is true. It should have still spaced them though. That doesn't really explain... Yeah, that is true though. I did forget to do that, didn't I? Alright, let's try it now. Four, 7, 2, 8, 5, 8, 9. I wanna breathe to stay alive. Okay, the reason it looks like it's not working is if you look at the position, the positions are spaced out, but they're so close together that we just can't see them. So 11 isn't enough. So as we increase spacing, what the fuck? Wait, oh, there they are. There it is. It's actually the other way around. The spacing's too much. Now they're coming together. Come together right now. Over here. You little bitches. Why can't I move the transform? Still let me move the transform. You bastard. Yeah, why won't it let me move the transform? Transform. This is almost perfect except for some fucking reason. Why? I guess I could just stop running the script for a second and then bring them over. And then it jumps back over there. I must be forcing the starting point in the code or something. This is slightly awkward, but okay. Right, what we're trying to do is obviously space it so that we can see every actor on the screen. Right, I think the first thing we need to do is either change the color of our floor. That would be easier, actually. Okay, let's change the color of our floor. Let's change the color of the floor. Let's change the color of the floor. We'll also move, because it's obviously going to start on the leftmost and it's going to go over to the rightmost. So we'll move it to kind of like the left of the floor, if that makes sense. Okay, so let's change the floor material so that we can see these cubes. And honestly, it doesn't really matter what we make it. Something that looks okay, I guess. Even that's fine. That's fine. Okay, now let's run it again. It's still put. Why did it put them all the way over there again? I don't know why it's doing that. It's kind of weird. Why is it doing that? Okay, but as you can see, now we're starting to get a bit of a nicer situation, right? So if I want, I've got to remember that these are actors on the screen. So they don't want to be too far away from the viewer, right? They don't want to be. They don't want to be all the way over there. They want to be a bit closer to the camera.
787 says, "Hi."
Hello, Pika. Right, I think they want to be. That's probably fine, actually. I don't think they want to be any further back than that. They do need to be closer together. And the script's not running. Script is not running. Script is not running. Okay, if we push them together like that. Okay. We still can't see them all on the screen. But what we've also got to do, really thinking about it, right, is if you have one character on the screen and you've got enough room for 7, you probably don't want your character to be so small that they could fit, you could fit 6 other characters on the screen, because you want your character to be front and center. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to teach our camera that when it's on a center object like this, we're gonna have to set up custom cameras for these as well, for these formations. So we'll have a tight camera for one character, we'll have a less tight character for 3 characters, we'll have the widest camera for all characters.
And it even featured Alice's appearance too.
Okay, great. Right, let's adjust this some more. I don't want to really put it any closer than 6. Okay, we can start to see all the characters now. With a little bit of FOV shifting, we should be able to manage all 7 characters at once. But this is like worst case or maybe best case scenario, depending on how you think about it, right? Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to copy this version of the object so that we can then paste it in the scene. Why didn't that work? I have no idea why that didn't work. Fuck! I think it was 0.6, wasn't it? Okay, let me run it again. Okay, so we have all 7 of our objects. So I think something like that. If we start from the widest field of view and then get tighter and tighter, then we have a starting point then. So imagine this is our 7 characters on the screen. Now I don't necessarily want to line them all up like that, but it just gives me a starting point. So let's see. We copy that like that. There we go. Okay, so we now have our position markers.
Don't worry, I won't send links unless you wanted to avoid wasting your internet provider data plan, since it's not unlimited like mine internet provider.
Did you not read? Oh my god, Pika, you don't listen to me at all. I replied to your message last night. I don't have limited data. That's not what I was saying to you. You were spamming my AI. My AI costs me money for every time she replies to you. It's called an API request. And when she sends big replies, the cost is higher. Not only that, but it's just annoying. You use her as Wikipedia. The thing I was saying don't do, I'll time you out, is stop using my AI as Wikipedia. You're asking it to tell you all the Australian time zones and the difference between the education systems and blah, blah, blah. If you want to look that up, go look that up on Wikipedia. My stream isn't Wikipedia. Okay, that's what I consider abusing my AI, and that's what costs me money. It's nothing to do with my ISP. It's OpenAI. She's connected to ChatGPT, basically, so it comes off my account. But, I mean, it's not the cost so much, it's just that it's annoying, right? I'm trying to concentrate and program or make a game or whatever, and you're there getting her to tell about the difference between every fucking time zone in Australia. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's not what this stream is for. That's not what she's for. But it's nothing to do with my ISP. So the simple rule is, and it's there in black and white on my stream, don't abuse my AI. That's all I'm asking you to do. Don't use her as your own personal Wikipedia. That's all I'm asking. I don't mind you asking her, like, you know, the odd question, or what do you think of Cappy's this? Like the odd, you know, the odd thing now and again. But when you ask her something like that's going to give a big long frickin', you know, answer that nobody's, do you know what I mean? Like, why are you even asking her that? It's got nothing to do with the stream. It's not like.
Okay, Cappy, as you wish. Don't use her as Wikipedia. Understood.
Basically, ask yourself one simple question, right? Is anybody else watching the stream going to find it useful or entertaining? If the answer is no, then please don't do it. Or ask me first. You know, can I ask you this? But there's plenty of places to ask that kind of stuff, right? There was something floating in this bowl. God damn it! I'm gonna end up. It must have sunk to the bottom. I'm worried about that now because I don't want to swallow it. It's probably nothing, but don't really like floaty things in my drink. Right, if we can get back to this. Right, so we've got 7 positions that our actors can appear on in, and we're setting the camera up so that we can see all 7 positions. We're going to do different camera like FOVs. FOV stands for field of view. It's basically how much of the focus can you see. Think of it as like a zoom in or out.
Version or video version, which is 5 minutes and 35 seconds long instead.
Well, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but I'm not really looking at Genshin propaganda right now, am I? I'm trying to make my own game. If I get time, I'll look at it later. Right, so we've got 7 position markers. Right, so now we need to mark these positions, name these positions as they are in our formation. Okay.
I know that, Kathy, so I sent you the written version instead.
Okay, so we've got our far left, left, near left, center, near right, right, far right, which is the same as our formations block.
How's your stream going so far, Cappy?
I've got a lot to do, so I need to concentrate. Right, so we've got 7 markers. And this is where we would
Canthea says,
place...
I am back, Fohio.
Hello, welcome back. This is where I can place my characters on these spawn markers. Okay, I think the first thing we need is some logic.
Piker QuickTime 787 says, welcome back, Canthea. Canthea says, thank you.
What does that say? Oh, store string. Okay, we don't have anything star related.
Piker QuickTime 787 says, no worries.
Right, I'm just gonna call it story scene. The same as the game object. Alright, so putting the story scene script on the parent. So we need system collections generic. So we can have a list. Which I'm just going to call character positions. Sorry, that's not the name. It's going to be a list of transforms called character positions. So let's link that. So we don't need access to mesh renderer, we don't need access to box collider. We've got character positions, which we've got 7. So I'm just going to grab these positions and add them to the list. Grab them. There we go. Wait, 14. Oh, it's because it's got the. There. Alright, so we've got all 7 positions in their respective order assigned in character positions. Okay, so the first thing it seems to me that I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to come up with a dynamic camera system that basically knows what the ideal field of view is. That knows what the ideal field of view is based on how many characters are on the screen at any given time. So we need to come up with a way to measure which slots are occupied and which ones aren't. Now there are only transform references, so you can't turn transforms on or off, but you can turn their respective game objects on and off. So I think what we'll do is we'll make it so that we check the respective game objects' active state to determine whether a slot is occupied or not by a character, so that we can figure out what the correct FOV is going to be. But first, let's go through the logic here. So the way I see it, I think, is we're going to want an FOV, let's use orange. We're going to want an FOV for one character on the screen. Which we'll call close. An FOV for up to 3 characters on the screen, which we'll call medium. An FOV for 5 characters on the screen, which we'll call far, and last but not least we'll have an FOV for all characters on the screen, which we'll call like very far. Okay, so we have an FOV index 0, an FOV index 1, an FOV index 2, and this one is going to be FOV index 3. So we want a public list of floats which we'll call FOVs. Which we can now set up in the inspector. So we already have our first FOV set up, right? Whatever the camera's set to now, which is 60 is our last FOV index. So we're working backwards here. So we're going to go over to our
says,
list of FOVs.
News. I've been very
We have 4 FOV settings, and 60, yeah, 60 is going to be our final FOV setting. So there's 60. So that one is FOV index 3. Okay, so our next FOV index, we want to push a little bit closer so that we can incorporate 5 characters on the screen. So it looks to me that about 45 is where we want it to be. So we're going to go in and we're going to set our FOV index 45 to element 2. We're going to go back to the camera. I'm going to push in a little bit more so that we can set our 3 characters on the screen, which I think wants to be about there. So let's say 32. So we're going to go in and we're going to put 32 as our FOV index 1. We're going to go in, we're going to push a little bit closer for our 1 single character on the screen. Probably wants to be about there. 22. So we're going to go into scene, we're going to set 22 as our FOV index 0. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to check the states of activated transform connected game objects, right? So the game objects that are linked to the transform, so each of these position markers, and figure out which characters are on and which characters are off. And based on which characters are on and which characters are off, we'll know which FOV index to use. So we could do case matching here. So let's figure out what our case should be. So we can take a look at this diagram and figure out what our case structure wants it to be. So the best way to do this is to basically map out each of our indexes. So this would be case 0, case 1, case 2, and case 3. Once again, let's work backwards. So case 3, either F left or F right is on. So let's program that in. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a function in our story system called set FOV. Okay, we also need to link the camera so that we can do all this. So we're going to do a public camera. We'll make a private camera. Cam. So in start we can see that our camera is literally transform find camera. So we can say transform find camera get component of camera. Okay. And then in set FOV we want to say case 3
Piker QuickTime 787 says, at Canthea that's okay even though we now know what Alice looks like for that game with various other future characters like Durin and so forth.
If F left, right, we need to know what indexes these are. So F left is, let's draw the indexes in here because it gets confusing otherwise. So we need to be putting our logic in based on the index. So F left is, well, these should just go up, right? So if we use purple for our indexes, Then this is index 0. This is index 1. This is index 2. This is index 3. This is index 4. This is index 5. And this index 6. So we can go back to our code. So we're looking at index 0 because we want f left. So if f of v's at index 0 dot game object, why the fuck isn't it giving me game objects? Oh, character positions. Yeah, okay, it's character positions we're looking at. Dot game object. Active self or character positions 6 active self dot game object dot active self, then I will declare an integer at the top called camera index. I suppose fov index, let's do fov index, which we'll set to -1 here. We can set fov index equals 3. There. Yeah, it's gonna match the case, right? And at the very bottom we can say camera field of view equals fovs at fov index. There we go. Okay, so our case 2, let's take a look at our case 2. So what is case 2 looking at our diagram? Case 2 is we want to use FOV index 2. So now let me just think about this, because there are two ways you can direct the flow. If we're going backwards, well, then we're checking to see if the outermosts are on. Yeah, I think that's the right way to do this. So our outermost here would be left and right. So left and right is index 1 and index 5. So the logic is the same. So we need case 2. Fov index is 2. And our character positions are 1 or 5. So what we're doing is we're narrowing the gap, right? We're narrowing the min maxes. We're looking at the min maxes. We're going from wide to narrow to narrow to narrow in our logic as well. Our logic is also following that pattern. So case 1. Now we'll go to 2 and we'll go to 4 because we're getting narrower and narrower and narrower, and our fov index for this one is 1.
I heard online today
And last but
version
not least,
2.5 preload has started, which
we could
means an
just,
update
we
for
don't
that
even
game
need
is
logic
incredibly
for
close
case
now.
0. What we could do is we could default fov index to 0 here, so that if we don't hit case 1, it comes out 0. If we hit case 1, it comes out 1. And then respectively, if it hits case 2 or 3, we'll set the fov index to the respective case that we hit. So to test this now, what we want to do is call setFov in update, so it's running every frame. And then what we can do to our story system is we can test it now in real time. Okay. We forgot to link. What did we forget to link? The camera. Wait, no we didn't. Okay. Oh, is it because there's two audio listeners? There's two audio listeners. Okay, we'll just turn it off for now. Is that the only error? Null reference exception in story scene. Wait, what? What do you mean null reference exception? Also, I didn't mean to leave the raw spawner on. We're done with the raw spawner now. These are actually character positions, so we'll name it as such. And now we've got index 0, 1, 2, and 3. What is the null reference? Okay, line 1837. So it came from line 18, which is setFov. And the null reference occurs on 37, which is the camera. So it didn't find the camera. Oh, it's because update's running before start, that's why.
Some computers goes that doesn't compute. Please
yeah,
try
also.
again later.
Oh, it might just be because we didn't assign it as such, right? So when we assign it as such in start, we might need to put that in awake. Let's find out. Yeah, no, it's fine in start. Okay, so it's all running. It's looking great. So now what we can do is we can turn the respective game objects on or off based on which characters are supposed to be in the scene. So right now it thinks that all 7 characters are in the scene, but if we take these 2 off, whoop, there we go, it changed the FOV, and if we put them back on, it changed the FOV again. So it's working. So as you can see, if we have less characters on the screen, whoop, it zooms to incorporate those characters. It zooms to incorporate those characters, and if we've only got the center character on the screen, boop, it knows to put the one character front and center. So that is working perfectly, and we can try and fool it by doing these two, and it should incorporate. Boop. Yeah. So whatever our formation of characters is in our story system, the camera knows what to do. And it's looking good, and we can adjust all of this because we put the floats in a list of floats, so we've got our custom FOVs, so we can change any of those if we want to. We can move these character positions around. It's just to get the meat of it in there, right? So that is working great. So our FOV system's working great. We don't want to run it on update, but we do want to call it every single time we handle a new transition, right? So we're bringing characters in, we're bringing characters out. Okay. Okay. The way my story script system is going to work is, as you can see, we get a story file from my builder. So when my builder does its output, this thing, it saves it as a .story file. That .story file is going to be stored on my server, and we're going to pull the story file through the server into the game, and then we're going to deliver that story to the player. So what we're going to need is a story file name to drive this. So we're taking a public string, which we'll call story file. Okay. So I think the first thing we need to do is we need to actually flesh out this game's story builder. So the story builder is composed of two parts. So we've got the story management part here on the right, which handles all the asset references from the game or the scene or whatever, right? Typically this is going to be game related. And so we can set up the game's settings, if we like, for story here on the right. And then the idea is you load story settings depending on which game you're writing a story for, and then you build the story chapter in here, and then you save the story. So this basically sets up these so that we don't mistype anything, and we know where our characters are, what our transitions are, what our poses are, what our additional functions are, all of our character names, and everything else. So I think the first thing we need to do here now is go into our actual iDLE story system. There it is. So we're going to open that in Firefox. There we go. And we're going to start to add our characters and things like that. So let's look at our characters. I could just use the website, couldn't I? Of course, I forgot about that. I've got a website, which is really helpful. So if I go to my website, we have all the characters on here. There we go. So now I can just add them from the website. Perfect. So let's go and add them in. So we've got Chizuru. We've got Tama. We've got Izumi, Setsu, Ren, Nozomi. What might be quite nice is if I could actually link an avatar, because I will admit, like, if I'm writing story, we've got a lot of characters in this game because it's a gacha game. So it would be quite nice if we could store like their avatar next to the character name, and I can set that up in the story building system, because then I don't get confused about who is speaking. I don't know if it's worth it. It's also more initial setup though. It's fine. I should really learn my characters' names though. But yeah, I don't know. I could see me getting confused, like, oh shit, and getting me stuck between, like, you know, two characters because they have similar names or something. And by having their icons, it would just make it less likely that that would happen. We could ask it, before we go any further, we could ask it, but ideally what I would want to do is I would want to be able to show the icon of the character here, and then as we select a speaker, we also show the character icon on the dialog box itself, just so that it makes it, like, it solidifies it in my mind. So I guess I would just put the character face in the left column. Now we have a structure for this, right? For this game, where the avatars, each character has like an ID. Which essentially would just be the index. Except in this case, it's actually index plus 1 because we start counting from 1, which is always a bad idea. It's getting really warm in here.
How's your project coming
Let's just see
so
how
far
easy
tonight?
or not that would be. Okay, the game I'm using this for is a gacha with dozens of characters, and I can see me easily getting confused and mixed up with character names. Would it be possible to link an avatar PNG image to each speaker and have it appear 1 next to the names in the list and 2 in a small left column on each dialog box, and save this with the settings file? Absolutely, this is a great usability improvement. Here's how we can implement it. Okay. Change speakers from an array of strings to an array of objects. Okay. UI for adding, editing avatars. In the speakers section, add a file input or URL input for each speaker to set their avatar. Update the drop downs, show avatar in dialog block, save and load avatars in settings. Okay. Okay, let's see it. So let's say we want to add Chizuru. So we added Chizuru. I don't see any way to add an avatar. I think it's up to date.
Since ads are about to run on Twitch, how about I tell you a joke? What did the shy pebble wish for? That she was a little bolder.
These have been applied. Yeah?
Somebody's just trying to scam me.
Have they?
Saying they were from Sky. And I got a bit suspicious. I asked them too many questions. Well, Sky don't do that. They only ask if I'm an account holder and my password. And then we're trying to change my password, saying it wasn't suitable. So
No, nobody would ever ask for your password.
Yeah.
You didn't give me your password, did you?
Well, I did, yeah, but it was the Sky password.
Be careful with that.
Well, I've told
You can
Sky, I've
change it or
reported them.
change it, yeah.
I said,
Yeah, don't ever give anyone your password. No
and
company
they gave
ever
me a
asks for a
telephone
password.
number and James William, it said his name was. And I said, they give me the telephone, I'll give Sky that number and they're going to check it out, you know. They said, that's not for us. I said, we haven't approached you at all.
Yeah, it's someone trying to scam you.
I said, I don't like, I said, you're asking too many questions, you. I said, I'm going to end this call, and I ended it.
Yeah, you do right.
And I've told Sky, and I said, don't worry about it. I said, it was on my mobile that rang me. I said, they never got my number, but they did.
No, yeah, they sell them onto each other. That's why. As soon as you get caught by one, they'll all try.
They said, don't worry. He said, nothing will happen. We'll sort it out. They're good, Sky. I like them.
They want to be the money they charge.
They were saying they were going to adjust me Sky account from 116 to 80 odd quid. I said, what's the idea of that? I said, why are you doing that? I said, that's a news one. And then alarm bells started ringing, then, you know. And I thought, and he was wanting me to add numbers to the Matthew's account and my date of birth and, you know, and this, that and the other. And I said, hey, you asking too many questions to you. I said, I'm going to end this account. I said, I don't like the sound of you.
Yeah.
And then this call and that, I did something funny.
Yeah, you did right.
Some bastards about, isn't it?
Oh, they make a lot of money doing that.
Some bastards about.
Right, I don't see anywhere anything. Let me just refresh it again. Are we? Oh, we're not loading the right version. That's why. Yeah, I'm actually loading the. I was loading the wrong version.
Piker QuickTime 787 says, "True, never give away your password, but some out
this is
there
the
can't
version that
remember
we're
their
editing.
passwords and some can't come up with good ones since different companies have different criterias on them too."
Yeah, browse, no file selected. Okay. So if we add Chizuru, and then there we go, we get a file prompt now to add the avatar. That's cool. So project resources, iDLE, avatars, avatar 001, add speaker. There she is. Oh, that is cool. And so now if we add a dialog box, Chizuru. Okay, that's cool. Oh, how cool is that? That is cool. Yeah, we could make it a little bit bigger in here, I think. 'Cause it's kind of hard to see who that is. But that is nice, because then it's a lot harder to get mixed up between characters. I like that a lot, actually. That is really cool. Okay, so let's try and make this a little bit bigger now. I wonder if it's resizing the image on import as well, or if it's just loading it directly. If we inspect this element, we'll see what it is. So the image, so I think it's pulling the image directly, and the style, it's in a div class dialog avatar. There we go. Div class dialog avatar. So there should be in CSS a dialog avatar. Oh, that is really cool. I really like that. Yeah, Cursor's pretty good actually for stuff like this. Like, it made most of this itself. I don't see any CSS for it. There's got to be a CSS for it somewhere. Let me just search the file. Oh, here we go. div class dialog avatar style width 40. Minimum width 40. So what if we just double it? So add Chizuru. Oh, we have to add the file as we do. Okay. So we have to do the name, and then we can point to the avatar. There we go. It remembered my place as well. I am loving this. And then we select Chizuru. Oh, I didn't change. Let me save this settings file. There we go. So it's settings 8. Well, blocks 8. Yeah.
You're wrong, Sky. Only asked me for the password, but the difference was they're trying to change the password.
Yeah.
Add stuff to it, and that's when the alarm bells started ringing. I said I've had the password for 28 years, at least 30 years anyway.
That didn't do anything. Okay, so we changed it to 80 pixels. Okay, there's another one here that's set to 40 pixels. Width, height, 80. So it's not doing it in CSS, it's doing it directly in HTML. 80, 80. Okay, so if we refresh, we load our settings. Blocks 8. There's Chizuru. Add Chizuru. There we go, that's better. This is a little bit bigger. We could go bigger still, I guess. That's probably fine, actually. Yeah, I like that a lot, actually. That's really good. I like that a lot. How cool is that? Yeah, because then, like, I don't... If I accidentally select the wrong character because they have similar names, like, I'll see almost immediately that I'm looking at the wrong character, and it's like, oh shit, that's not who I meant. I meant so-and-so. So it's like, it gets me to correct myself, like, as I'm writing the story. Because it's easy to make mistakes, right? That's why I wanted this, like, asset linking thing where I set the story up with the characters and all the things that are in the story, so that, you know, I'm not just typing a character's name and then looking up the name. This is really, really cool. I can see here on the left what the characters look like, who they are. I can select them from the drop down, and if I make a mistake, I'll see straight away that I'm looking at the wrong character. So I think that's really cool. Yeah, I'm really pleased with this. I'm very pleased with this. Okay, so I think we can continue setting up our... So I'm going to overwrite the one in iDLE. Okay, and let's go in and add our characters. Okay, so where was my list of characters that I was working with? From my website, right? So from my website. So we got Chizuru. And then we'll be able to link all of these avatars and save a valid settings file. This is so cool. This is such a good idea. I'm so glad I thought of this. Well, I wanted, because I knew I'm making a data-driven game, right? And it's like, when you're making a data-driven game, you've got to be like, you've got to be smart about how you're handling the data. And it's easy to just kind of trust everything to like randomize strings and things, but like then it's dead easy to make mistakes, and it's like and the nice thing about this, right, like let's say I wanted to let you guys write story for the game, right? I could literally just upload this to my website, make it so that it loads my settings file automatically for you, and then you've got access to all this. So if you wanted to, so if let's say you know, Pika, I'm not saying I'm going to do this, but I'm just saying in theory, you know, Pika could just think up a scene between, you know, some of the characters to add to the game, build the blocks, save it, send me the file, and then I could have a look at it and be like, yeah, alright, I'll add that to the game, or nah, I don't like it, or edit it, or whatever, right? That's the nice thing. So I mean, that, how cool is that, right? And then it's already in a format that my game will understand. So I don't then have to like convert it and then, you know what I mean, like mess with it in anywhere, like, because the file you send me will be exactly the file structure that I'm expecting and my game's expecting, so that it can load and process the script. And I think that's pretty cool.
Canthea says,
hi Kebby, oh my god,
OMG,
you need what I found out,
send
it to Discord. Yep, never give your password out. Good advice. Oh my god, you guys are gonna kill me. You know I need to get on with this though, right? It's never gonna get done. What did you find out? You didn't find anything out. You bought the skin. You bought the skin. Yes, congratulations, well done, great. It is nice skin. I'll probably get it myself at some point. Oh, what? Okay, I'll see you in a bit. Congratulations on the skin. I'll probably get it myself. Right, let's get these characters into our system. Alexandria, I do hate when you have to come up with a new password for no reason. Hello, Alexandria, how are you? Yeah, well, it sounds like my mum gave a password out there to somebody. I hope she's changed it. If Terra Fantasy is successful with their no gacha server, do you think that Genshin will follow that move at some point in the future? No. Will they? Hell. They'll create a new gacha, they'll call it the Genshin gacha, and it's like half the rates with double the price. Joking at you, they'll never do that. Right, so Chizuru. So let's assign our Chizuru avatar. So over in Project Resources, iDLE, avatars, and we can link Chizuru avatar. There we go. Chizuru's now in the game with her icon, in the story system with her icon. This is great. So once I set all these up, Tamar, we just go through, add them all, and then as I'm writing story, I can see who's speaking. I don't get mixed up. The game knows how to read it and who to bring into the scene and where and everything else. It's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. Alright, add a speaker, Izumi. And it's stuff like this. Stuff like this is kind of like, it's the first building blocks of creating user-generated content as well, right? Because think about that as well, right? Like this web page could be on my website, and it could act as like a user-generated content thing, right? Where it's like, okay, you want to add a story to the game? Sure. Go to the story maker, and then you could, this could automatically upload to a server and then play through the story or whatever, right? And this is how they do stuff like that, right? That's pretty cool. So the sky is the limit. Sky's the limit. So I'm really glad. I'm really glad I started building this like this. Okay, so Izumi, Setsu, we've got Rain. Now it's just a matter of adding all the characters. And then that'll save to a settings file, so I don't need to do it again. And every story that I write will just automatically know who the characters are and have their avatars and everything. So that's nice. And obviously I can use this in every game going forward as well. Like I'll probably use this for future games as well. So Nozomi. Our next one is Bandy. There's Bandy. Sheena. There's Sheena. Chloe. That's Chloe. This is so cool. Suzu. Oh, try typing it right. I mean, it doesn't really matter what we type here. Like, essentially, as long as... So the way it's going to work, right, is we set up... In the same way that I'm setting the characters up here now for the story builder system, I'll do something similar on the Unity side where I'm like, okay, in fact, that might be cool. How about this? How about I feed it the story settings file, and from story settings, not only does my story builder know all of the references, but Unity can load those references from the story builder file so that none get lost or forgotten, and then Unity can just prompt me to like link them. Okay, so where is the character model for this one, you know, where do we pull it from, and so on and so forth. So I think that's a really cool idea. And in that way, if you add a character to the story and you forget about them, the story system will be like, hey, I need this character because you've got them in the story, like, you know, you can't forget about them. So that way you don't sort of run into some game breaking bug. I've got to add Suzu's image. Suzu. Genshin don't need to. Tough trying the warfare approach. Hopefully that direct price is correct. Some ideas like saving passwords is a good idea, but then if your device gets stolen, then they have access to all your accounts if you report as theft. I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't save passwords on a portable device. Right. But yeah, if someone steals like your home computer or whatever, you're probably fucked anyway, because there's going to be a lot of personal stuff on that anyway, isn't there? Right, Suzu. Suzu. Add Suzu. Kiki. Kiki. Add Kiki. Kiki. Fiorella. Fiorella. She sounds Italian. Fiorella. She's a 5-star. Sweetie. Sweetie. Okay. The cringiest of the bunch. Alicia. 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 Katarina. I did spell it right. Yep. Katarina. The Katarina. Beautiful. Sylvia. This is such a great idea, especially for like a gacha game story writer. Because like, look at this. We have all our characters in here. You know what I mean? We just tell it who's speaking and then... It's so cool. I'm so glad I came up with this idea. Marielle. Marielle. Himari. Oh. This one's Himari. Yeah. Himari. Zoe. Oh, wrong thing. Put it in block names. Zoe. 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 Mambo. 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 And the final one is Girl Brush.
Into an Italian stream, then some go Mario. You don't put pineapple on
Girl Brush. Link her avatar. Girl Brush. Add. Oh. Add Girl Brush. There we go. So we've got all our characters set up into our settings, story settings system. So I'll save that settings file. It's gone in as block 9. So now, at any point, I can just load those back in. And then obviously we can then start to set up like our poses and things like that, like custom poses and things like that. So we can say, you know, okay, we might have like an excited pose or a laughing or a talking or whatever we want, right? This like animation triggers. Transitions, if we want to like fade in, fade out, crossfade, whatever we want, we can set all those up. And then, like I say, I think the nicest thing about it is if you want to collab with somebody, right? It's like, that person probably isn't technically working on the game necessarily, but they might still want to write a story for it. So then if you give them the settings file, if I sent somebody a link and this was all set up for them, well then all they've got to do is look at these and be like, oh, okay, I could change this pose, and then you'll probably find that they'd like, you know, be setting some of these up automatically for you, because they're like, oh, that would be funny if she started laughing, so we'll set that to laughing, and she can say, ha ha, you stupid prick. I think I'll lay down, have a good stream. Alright, I'll catch you later. If we're turning this into an Italian stream, then some go Mario. You do put pineapple on. Chicken and pineapple is one of my favourites. Chicken and pineapple. Oh, I'm loving that avatar. That avatar on the dialogue blocks is just genius. It's so cool. It's so cool. Okay, so that looks really cool to me. So we just saved a blocks 9. Now that is one thing that's a little bit weird, because we're running the editor from iDLE, but it didn't save the file in iDLE, it saved the file in downloads. Mind you, I think that's what web browsers will do by default anyway, so I guess that makes sense. But yeah, just got to be careful there, because this is our settings, right?
One of my favorites is ham and pineapple on a pizza.
So this would be story settings.json. So I want to copy that over to our iDLE folder. And it's like almost 10 meg. So now, if we start from a blank canvas, we should be able to give it that story settings. That's the wrong folder. There we go, story settings, and then in comes all our characters with all our avatars. Beautiful. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm now going to ask for a story settings file. Now story settings, typically, I think it's up to me to decide this now, but I think story settings is probably going to be consistent across games. So once you set a story settings file up for a game, you're probably going to use the same story settings file across the entire game. So I actually think that the story settings file should be stored on the system controller, because that's where like server root and stuff is stored. So I'm going to do a public string of story settings. And then what we're going to do is our story manager is going to have access to that file, because we're going to teach it about the system controller. There we go. And so now what we can do is we'll load the story settings file that we use for our block building, and we'll also use that in Unity's side, because it has a list of our characters. It can prompt us for every speaker, because you might want NPCs in a game, right? The reason I think this is important is I don't want to have to, let's say I'm in the flow of writing a good story and I have a lot of ideas, and I'm like, oh, I've got this great idea about an NPC who comes in and says this, and then so-and-so says this, and then so-and-so says that. I don't want suddenly a big roadblock to get in my way and be like, oh shit, first I need to go over to Unity and set up that NPC, and then it needs of this and it needs of that, because by the time you do all that and then you get back to story writing, you'll be like, shit, where was I again? It's easy to kind of like, you know, get out of that flow state. So I think good tools should let you run with it, run with ideas, run with the iterations, and then deal with the cleanup later, right? So that's why I think shared story settings file. One of your favorites is ham and pineapple. So you like pineapple on pizza too, so what are you on about? Yeah, so the shared settings file means we can then find NPCs that were referenced in the script that maybe haven't been added to the game yet. And then when the game prompts me, obviously the developer, for, hey, where's the character model for this NPC? Well, then that's my red flag, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot all about that. Girl in the fucking supermarket. Yeah, I need to make her and set her up. Okay, let's get on that. You know what I mean? Like, we can deal with that like later. And I think that's a really good way to do it. Because like when you're doing a task that's has a specific, I don't know, a specific theme to it, right? If you're doing art and you're doing UI, then you're sort of in that mode. If you're importing character models, then you're in that mode. If you're programming and deep in the code, you're programming. And I think story writing is also like a very sort of niche. It's a specific kind of thinking style. It's very creative. It's very, I don't know, immersive. It's like an immersive type of thing, right? Because you've really got to brew up ideas and stuff, and so it's not good to take you out of that flow, I think. So yeah, I think this is such a good idea. I am gonna go to the toilet real quick and grab like a drink, like a little biscuit or something. So I will be right back. But yeah, this is looking really good. I'm really happy with this. All right, I will be right back. Right, but 2 seconds. I take some of these cups down. Oh, there's something spiky in my shoe. Spiky shoes. You were born to lose those toes when you're walking on glass and you cutting your toes. Okay, there is some. There is some more functionality that I want to add. So if we have rain, say, my name is Rain. Please chew meat. Chew. And then we have Suzu saying, fuck off, you skank. Or whatever, right? Currently, I can move these around, which is quite nice. Maybe I want that line there and that line there. But the problem is if I have tons of them, right? Let's say I have 4,000 blocks underneath this one. There's no way to add a block in the middle of the script, right? You would add a block and it would appear at the bottom, but this could be again 4,000 lines and you might be scrolling up forever and that's really awkward, right? So I want a way to add a block. So I'm going to ask for a plus next to the red cross. Can we add a green plus button next to the red cross on the dialog block, which allows us to add a new dialog block in the middle of our script. A green button has been added. Green button. You saw me standing by the moonlight. And then I loaded my story settings. That's not green. You motherfucker. What an asshole. That's grey. It's fucking... Is cursor colorblind? Yeah, bitch. Okay, so let's say Nozomi says, I love sandcastles. And then Fiorella says, you would. You just love sand in your crack or whatever, right? Then let's see. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, there we go. And now we can add a block in the middle of our script with the plus button. I like that a lot. Alright, we're looking great. We're looking great. I think that's pretty much it. So we have our settings file. So let's take a look at our settings file. I believe it's in JSON format. Blah 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 blah. Oh boy. Oh, look what it's doing. It's storing the byte data of the PNGs. That's clever. It also makes these settings files way bigger than they need to be, but okay. That's kind of good though, because it means that, again, if I wanted to upload, definitely if I wanted to upload this now, then I wouldn't even need to upload the images, because the images are stored in byte data in the settings file. That's interesting. I didn't expect it to do that. I wondered why the file was so big. I don't quite know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing though. Custom block types. I don't know how I feel about it storing the images in byte data, because first of all, those images are way too big to be used for what we're using them for, but they're the ones that we want to use in the game. I'm just trying to go through in my head what the pros and cons of that are. Because this settings file is like 10 meg right now, which is way bigger than it needs to be, but that's because it's storing 21 avatar images of all of our characters. I don't know if it should be doing that. Okay. The next thing we need is a list of character names. Actually, we need to get... This needs to get way more. How are we going to do this? Okay, I need to really, I really want this to be exactly what I want it to be. I think storing the byte data of the images is the wrong way to go. But then if we store a reference, then we get into like hard references versus like relative references, because the best way to store links, basically the best way to store links is relative, so that you can put your system in any folder and then all of the children assets of the system can be found in child folders and locations. So you don't hard link. What I mean by that is, okay, this is how you would normally build a good website. So when you do an image reference, you do image, and I think it's source equals, and then you close the image tag like that. Okay. And so you can either do something like this, or you understand that this is index if this is this, then you can just say, and it's way better to just say this, because the link will automatically understand that we start from this location here, because this is where we are. Our code is running from this folder here. So if we reference girls, we will find girls in the same folder that we're running from. Right, so this is relative linking. Okay, and this is like absolute. So the reason this is generally bad is if I move servers, then the whole thing breaks, because we're no longer on playcompile.uk. So let's say we end up on playcompile.com in the future. I actually do own that domain as well. I did. I don't know if I still do. Then if we do it like this, as soon as I upload all my files to the new server, this still works, but this doesn't. And we're dealing with a complex server structure. Well, it's not really a complex server structure, but what we have, we have three things that rely on server file locations. We have the game itself, which pulls from server root. So server root would be this part here. This is why I've done it like this. So server root has this set separately, and then it understands the relative linking from server root. So we always do server root plus relative links when we pull assets in through the game. The reason why is I understand that if server root ever changes, which it probably will in the future, I don't want to have to go and change hundreds, thousands of lines of code. I need to just be able to move it, and it should just work. We also have the website, and I've actually, we're gonna have four things. We also have the website, which does the same thing. Okay, this is built with relative links.
Since ads are about to run on Twitch, how about
so as soon as the server changes, our website should still work if we upload it to a new server. We now have Story Builder, which is now asking for a file. Now currently the file is translated into image bytes. So it fixes this problem, but it creates three new problems. And then we're going to have the story player, all right, which we're currently building. So we have a choice in the story player, because we could just read the image bytes from the settings file, right, since we have them, and then we could display them in the story. But the biggest issue I have with that is if I had when I'm writing a story, I'm likely to think up a new character on the spot, and I can't deal with making that character immediately. But this character is created out of thin air for the sake of the story, right? But she doesn't exist yet. And so the story builder is going to ask me for an image so that we can display it in the dialog box, right? So if I was writing this story right now and I decided I wanted checkout girl or whatever, right? So I add checkout girl. Well, look, I have to add an image for checkout girl. Now she doesn't exist yet, so I can't really give checkout girl an image. So what I'm most likely to do is I'm just going to grab an image like this. I'm just going to get some random girl's face, right? Avatar. Not that one. Girl avatar. There we go. I'll just find some random image on the internet, right? Let's save that in downloads. Untitled. And I could give my story builder that picture. But that isn't her, right? That's just so that we can add her to the system. Now I've got checkout girl, and now I can do some dialogue. So that wasn't too difficult to add checkout girl to my story. But she doesn't exist yet, right? She's a concept. But she needs to say something. She needs to say, would you like fries with that? Fried. Would you like fries with that? Or whatever, right? So the problem is, if we save this image as image bytes, then everything breaks when I delete her, recreate her, add the actual image for her, and then the settings file has to be updated. Do you see how that gets messy? So the image bytes are now wrong. We can't rely on them anymore because they're probably going to be full of placeholder images, because we don't necessarily want to be forced to go and create the character from scratch if we're just putting some story ideas together, right? We want to just be able to pick it up and run with it. So there's going to be some placeholder images in here for sure, right? Especially for NPCs. So I think storing the file as image bytes is a bad move. So then we've got to ask ourselves, okay, so what's the solution to our problem? We need an image file reference, right? Okay, so then that creates new problems, because the file reference when you do it like this, it's asking for a file on your computer. So what you end up with is something like this. Okay, that's what you end up with. Now, obviously, this only works on the machine that you originally pointed to it on, because it's looking for a file on your hard drive, right? So if that file isn't there, it's not going to be able to load it because it's not going to find it. So if Alexandria ran the story system, the story builder, and it was pointing to a file on my hard drive, it's not going to be able to load that image. And so imagine all of these were broken, these, because we're talking about fundamentally changing the way these images work, right? So then suddenly you wouldn't see any of the character icons. Well, that's bad. We don't want that. But since we already have a website and these avatars are pulled in for the game, if we go to our web server, which we can do right now, I believe, do you believe, is it images, assets? Okay, let me actually just load it. I don't know where it's at. I'll find it. But these are stored on the server, right? That's so that our game can grab them. And anybody who's playing anywhere in the world can get them, right? It's like, that's the whole point. It's a web game. And I've jumped through so many hoops just in order to make it work that way. It's not the default behavior by any means. We've had to jump through a lot of hoops to get it to work like that. But I'm glad I did. It looks like we're not connected. Oh boy, that's fun. Fuck's sake. Hang on. I'm going to need to reset my thing, I think. Why are my settings gone? Fucking piece of shit. That's super annoying. Okay, I need to log in. It won't show me what that is, so I need to make a new password. Use a securely generated password. Okay, do that. Update. The password changed. Okay. So, give me a sec. Obviously I can't show any of this. So I just need to make sure. Okay, I fucking hate this cyber thing. It doesn't like save any fucking thing. It does for a bit and then it just seems to like, as soon as it updates it just loses everything. Like I just want to get into the fucking thing. Okay, I think that should work. Port 22, yep. Now let's see if it lets me in. Login failed. Why did it fail? Download configuration for CyberDoc. Load. This thing doesn't fucking work either, by the way. It never fucking works. I don't even know why it exists. Open. Hello? Login failed. Jesus Lord Christ. I never understand, right? They have these settings files, and I've been with a few hosts, and these CyberDuck settings files never ever fucking work. So you enter your credentials and it doesn't let you in. You download the settings file and it still doesn't let you in. And like, well, what the fuck am I supposed to do then? How the hell am I actually meant to get into this fucking thing? Is that an SFTP? Yeah, it is an SFTP. Oh, we're in now. What's the same thing I did before? I don't know. We're in now. Okay, let me just make sure everything's closed. I can't show any of this. I can close that as well. Probably delete that as well. Okay. I think I can probably show the screen now. Right, so iDLE, so server root is basically iDLE. So let me show my screen. Okay, so we're in the server root now, right? So it's basically it's one folder off my actual web server. And this one folder represents the entire iDLE project, right? So in here we have all kinds of things. These are our HTML pages for the website. We have assets, we have the game builds going in there. We have headers, footers, everything. So assets, girls. Okay, so that's my streamed assets thing. It's not in there then. icons, avatars. There it is. Okay, so we want to be in server root / icons / avatars. Oh boy. Now this is where we run into all kinds of problems, right? It's like, okay, even coming up with a solution for this is like awkward as fuck, because it's like, okay, what are my options? I could set a server root the same as I do in the game, and then just make it so that every, like, we hard code follow the structure, right? But I don't know if this structure is, because I can't see into the future, I don't know if this structure is going to be the same for every game moving forward, right? And I'd rather not have to like pick apart my story builder next time I make a game. I'd rather just be able to plug and play, right? So I need to kind of try to think about future projects as well. Now I could just follow the same structure, like if it worked for this game, then why wouldn't it work for 100 other fucking games? I'm sure I'm going to live that long. But you know what I mean, right? Then, yeah, sure, I guess we could just take a server root, and then once we understand where the server root is, we know where to look for these things, right? So we could look at index of speaker, add 1 to it, and then just stick AVA in front of it, and then it just knows where to find the files instinctively. The problem with that is it makes things a little bit more awkward to set up, because where I added my checkout girl there on the left, I would need to do that and then upload that image to the server so that it can find a file. But not necessarily, because you don't have to. The nice thing about HTML is you're not going to throw an exception if there's no image there, right? It's just going to show a red cross, and it's just going to say, you know, can't find that image. And so it's not going to break things, and then it'll find the image when you get a chance to go and add it. So I think something like that is our best bet. I think the story manager needs to take a server root, and then it needs to look for a structure, or maybe we don't give it a server root, maybe we give it an icon root, because when I get to the game, yeah, maybe we take an icon root. And then the other advantage of that is, as long as I add the characters in the order that they've been added to the game in, and there's no reason not to, then there's no reason we can't automatically just find those avatars, so I don't need to like point to them on my hard drive like I did when I set it up this time. It'll just instinctively know where to go. In fact, we could go one further and we could have it automatically find the characters for us. If we give it an icon root, it can go in, find every PNG file. It's not going to know what the characters are called though, that's the only thing, because these are called AVA001, AVA002. So they don't have names. So then we'd need to add an interface that lets us rename links that link to files, image files. Whereas at the moment we're naming characters and we're assigning images files to them. So it would be like, it would kind of be like putting the cart before the horse in a way. This is a little bit awkward, I'll be honest. Because then I also have to consider, I need to now communicate this to Cursor to explain what it is I want it to do, right? I also need to put it into a language that it can understand. Like, I know how my structures and systems work, but I've also got to communicate that to Cursor so that Cursor can go in and make the changes. Or maybe it's safer to just, instead of browse, okay, maybe what I should ask for is, when I add a speaker, instead of pointing me to my hard drive and asking me to point to an image file, it should ask for an image URL reference, and then we could be pulling images from wherever, right? It doesn't really matter. No, I think I like the automatic numbering system. But I don't think we should go as far as to automatically add characters by finding the files ourselves. Because if we do that, then we still have to assign, because the character names aren't part of the avatar file structure, so we'd still have to link names to the avatar files themselves. And then again, I feel like that's kind of like putting the cart before the horse. Okay, so the first thing I need to ask it to do is, can we not save the byte data of the images and instead store the URL of an image file? Okay. Okay, can we not store the images as byte data? This bloats the settings file and will create redundant avatars when adding placeholders for new characters. Instead, can we just ask for the URL of the avatar image and load these remotely? The only problem with that is it will do exactly what I ask it to do, and then because it's not set up to look for things relatively, but we could still force it to work relatively, I guess. Because what I'm likely to do is if it's just asking me, wait a minute, I don't know if I put something, actually I think I put it at the top, so I think I'm safe. Yeah, it's fine. That was where I stored my password, but it looks like I already deleted it, thank God. Okay. Yeah, what I'm likely to do is I'm likely to give it a reference like this, right, while I'm just trying to get it to work. But then we're back to this issue of absolute linking, right? We're linking directly to the files through the web server. We want to use this structure here with server root. Oh, we want to use this structure rather, the website of relative links. But it will accept relative links, so it should be fine. Okay, can we not store the images as byte data? This bloats the settings file and will create redundant avatars when adding placeholders for new characters. Instead, could we just ask for the URL of the avatar image and load these remotely? Okay. Absolutely, storing only the image URL is a much better approach for your use case. Here's how we can update your workflow. Okay. What does this do? Mode toggle. Can we get the agent to apply the settings automatically? Or do we just do review changes? So all our speakers will be broken now. We have to rebuild them, but it's fine. Wait, that didn't... That's still asking for files. I guess that doesn't actually apply it then. It did it automatically before. 5 hidden lines. I don't think it's done it. Are we loading the right version? It's still asking for a file. I don't understand what we're looking at. Has it not applied the changes? Is that why I'm not seeing the changes this time? I'm so confused. I don't like this view. Is this the applied changes? I don't understand what the fuck is going on. Yeah, I don't know what we're looking at. I really don't. Let's just load it again. How do we, can we go to this on here? So we need to find function add speaker. I don't know if I lost the changes it made or if it's just missed something. Let's find add speaker. This was going great until it wasn't. That's the button reference. Yeah, it looks like it. No, it says avatar. Yeah, that didn't apply. Okay, I need to. Oh, fucking twat. Isn't there a way to jump to this point in the code though? Fucking flies buzzing around me now. Oh my god, I don't know why that happened. I don't know why that happened. Now I've got to. Input ID, I don't replace this with this. Also, why are we using JPEGs like that? Yeah, image avatar URL. And then updating our add speaker logic. With this, and this takes us down to the end of that's the entire function. That's a lot shorter now, I guess. Okay, and that should be it, I think. That's kind of messy now though. That's better. Okay, so let's see it now. There we go. Image URL. Yeah. Okay, so say we want to Chizuru. Because what I could do is I could use relative pathing. So relative pathing I would want to run editor whilst I'm building the project. I guess I would want to run it from here, right? From idle. So if I upload, this is going to get even more fucking well, it's not complicated, but just a little bit more awkward now, because now we're not even running in off the disk. Now we're running on the server. So we want to go to https playcompile.uk idle editor.html. There we go. So now we're actually on the server, but that's good because now we can add gIRLS as a relative path function. So we do gIRLS, and the avatar image URL should be icons avatars. So this is a lot more awkward to set up now, but it's kind of necessary. There we go. She loaded straight in. Perfect. So now I need to do that. And then make sure that my save settings file works and we're no longer dealing with... Yeah, it's 1 kilobyte now. And we should just be storing that link. Yeah, that's so much easier to link in, like, to process in Unity now. That's great. Okay, so what I need to do is continue putting these in and make sure I have all my characters in here. So but that and now like collab is amazing because like I could literally just point someone to this web page, although we'd need to load the settings file. Yeah, this wouldn't make a very good collab version just yet, because the collab version would need to automatically load the settings file, and the settings file would need to be on the server. But yeah, it's getting closer to sort of being able to support that though. Oh, fuck. Okay, my image URL reference got destroyed in my clipboard. I don't know why, but it did. Maybe I forgot to copy it. So I need to structure it again. So it's icons. Oh, you fucking son of a bitch. It's icons, it's avatars, and then it's AVA, and then whatever number we're up to. So this one would be 00. And I'm going to copy that to .png. Oh, we just got to go through and do this for every... There we go. Every character now. That's fine. So then Izumi. To be fair, what's really funny about this, right? It might be better not to put them in. Because it's actually going to be slower to do it through this interface than it would be just to go into a text edit and just go and fucking paste them all in. But it's fine, I guess. It's fine. And she's 3. It's also... Yeah, but it is kind of awkward. Yeah, no, I'm right about that. I am right about that. Here's what I'm going to do. Because we've only got 20-something characters, I'm going to paste them all in as this. I was going to put the names in, and then we'll go into a text editor and we'll add them in the text editor. Because I will admit this interface is a little clunky for doing that. And I'm gonna lose count of where, like, what number am I up to and stuff. It's just my brain's not good at thinking, and also talking to the stream as well at the same time. Is like, yeah, I'm gonna make mistakes, whereas if I go into a text editor at the end, I should be fine. Okay, so I'm just gonna put the names in and we'll fix that in the text editor, which I realize is kind of makes this interface redundant in a way. But I just think it's going to be a lot easier when we've got like 21 characters to add all at once. Suzu, Kiki, Fiorella, Sweetie, Alicia, Katarina. Okay, so far this is going really, really well. Sylvia, Marielle, Himari. This project is fucking insane. I cannot believe this like I don't know, even I can't believe the size and scale of this project. It's actually kind of nuts. Mambo. But we're doing great. Girl brush. We are doing great. Okay, so now I can save the settings file. Beep. Which went in as blocks 10. And then we can go into blocks 10. And we can just paste them. Now, how easy is that? Because now I can see where I'm up to. Yay! So sometimes it is easier to type stuff than it is to, you know what I mean? Because we already know that these are in order, right? But like, if you're doing it one character at a time, it's probably better to use the interface. But when you're doing 20 odd characters at once, I think this is just easier. But there you go. I have options, I guess, because I kept it in such a readable format that like this is pretty easy to do either way. So that's quite nice. I think it's always worth noting that like just keep things as simple as you put. Like don't overcomplicate things. Like I think that's the golden rule. Is it's easier to get carried away and to make things much more convoluted than they need to be. But you only set yourself up for more and more headaches the more you do that. I've always found that the simplest solutions is always the best solution. Because like nobody can see under the hood anywhere, right? Like, and so what if people do, right? I think there's beauty in simplicity anywhere. Like I love this. Like if I saw this as somebody's code, I'd be like, oh wow, that's so, you know, that's so neat, so well organized. Like I think simplicity is actually kind of beautiful. I don't actually think complexity has any benefit if it doesn't do anything. If it does something, then you know complexity is necessary sometimes. But if it's unnecessary complexity, it's just inefficient. It just doesn't make sense. So now we can refresh this, load our settings file. Let me just rename that settings file as well. So we'll delete our old one. There we go. There we go. And then we can load our settings file. And there they are. But the best part is, right, we went from a 2 megabyte story settings file to 2 kilobytes. And look how beautiful it is now. Look at how simple. Look at the old one. This was the old one. This was the old one. Look at it. It's a fucking state. An absolute state. And it has all those problems that I highlighted, right? You could end up with like incorrect placeholder avatars, and then if you want to change them and update them, it's kind of awkward because you have to change the byte data, and how are you going to do that in JSON format? So then if you use the interface to delete the reference, and then you add a new reference, then it's going to break all your dialog blocks that had it referenced. Here, we just go in. If this said placeholder.png for checkout girl, we just change it to checkoutgirl.png and we can see it and we can get to it, and it's just nice and simple and straightforward. Although I'd probably just keep numbering them, right, and we'll just see which ones are missing by, you know, by glancing at it. It's just obvious. So this is beautiful. This is a really nice story settings file. I'm loving this. So there's our story settings file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload that to the server. And I'm going to ask... Yeah, I think I'm going to ask Cursor to look for a story settings file in the relative path called, you know, whatever we decide to call this, and auto load it for us. Why have to point to a file anymore? Like, I'm going to ask it to automatically load the story settings file if it finds one. And then we're another step closer to the collaborative story builder that I was talking about, right? If somebody wanted to help me write a story for this game, it's already on my server. I can give them a link, and if it loads the settings file automatically for them, there you go. Have fun. And that's awesome. I think that's a really, really cool thing. So we're going to upload our story settings file to the web server. And yeah, I don't know, maybe it makes sense. Maybe this, because the story settings file itself in the game, it's always a bad idea to duplicate data, right? And here's the reason why. If we have a story settings file in downloads, and we have a story settings files in the project folder on the hard drive, and we have a story settings file on the server, well then which one's reading which, and which one do I frickin' update, right? It's like, it becomes a nightmare. So you have one story settings file to rule them all, right? Like Lord of the Settings Files, right? We've all seen that film, Lord of the Settings Files. It's a good film. So you want to be like Mordor or whatever the fuck they called him, Sauron, right? You want one big settings file on your server that feeds all of these systems, and then if you want to change a setting, you know exactly where to do it. So I think we go back to Unity now, and instead of taking a file name from a local place, we know where our server root is, and we can say every game now should have a story settings file on the server root that tells our story system what the settings should be. Okay. Right, the phone's ringing like absolute crazy. I'm gonna need to fucking answer. It might be urgent. Just give me a second. Oh. me. Oh, that's pretty nuts though. My fucking stepdad's got COVID. So fuck it, that's cancer, urine infections, dementia. What else did he have? I can't remember what it's this thing that makes him fucking fall over. Will Brannigan's or some fucking thing. And now COVID. Jesus Christ. It's amazing he's still fucking gone. Man, he was in a state the last time I saw him. Like really bad. But I guess that kind of explains it a bit. But now I'm wondering if because obviously he was here and they think he's got it from the care home and he was here. And I felt like shit the last couple of days actually. And now I'm worried that maybe I could be starting to show signs of it a little bit. Just cross every bridge as you come to it, I guess. But yeah, I felt like fucking shit yesterday. I had a headache, felt sick all day. I didn't feel too great when I woke up this morning either. Anyway, it is what it is. Right, awesome. What was I asking? What was I going to ask Cursor for? Oh yeah, can we get it to load the settings file automatically? Yeah, I have had some because I've just been as I've been sat here, you know, I keep going deaf in this ear, and like hearing a ringing in it, and like this dizziness come over me and stuff, and like just like weird, just something's odd. Like I don't feel normal. I feel a little bit out of it, but I don't know whether that could be really. I don't know. Right. Awesome. Can we have this page look for story settings.json at the current path and load them if it finds it? Why is that not? Is it because it's asking me if I want to apply the changes? I don't know what the hell is going on. Let me just come out of Cursor. I'm going to be fucking cursing it in a minute. Oh, I know there's a lot going on and everything, but like, Jesus Christ, like, I don't know, like this is me trying to do work, right? And like, I don't know, it's just, I feel like there's just distractions, constant distractions, and it's like, can I not just get on with it? Because this is fucking hard enough as it is. Why is that like that? What is happening now? Why is it like that? Enable preview editors. What? Why is it like that? What the fuck? Oh, now it's okay. Fuck me. Right, where is the AI? Oh, Jesus Christ. I fucking hate this. Right, there we go. Awesome. Can we have this page look for story settings.json at the current path and load them if it finds it? There we go. Is it stuck in an infinite loop or something? To have your page automatically look for a story settings JSON file in the current path and load it as custom block settings if found, you can add a script that tries to fetch this file on page load. If the file exists, it should parse and apply the settings just like the load settings button does. Here's what needs to be done. Add a function Right, is it updating it automatically now? Okay, let's see if it works. So it should now just load the characters by itself, right? Oh, we need to upload that updated file. Alright. It's not doing it. Okay, it's not, doesn't seem to be doing it.
Since ads are about to run on Twitch, how about I tell you a joke? Did you hear the news? FedEx and
Okay,
apps are merging.
it's not
They're going to go by the
working.
name FedUp from now
By
on.
current path, are we looking in the same folder as the HTML file? Yes. The code is correct for web server use. The local file opening browser security blocks the fetch. Use a local web server for best results. Yeah, maybe maybe the web server is blocking the fetch. I mean, I guess it's not the end of the world. It's just like, if we're storing the settings file like next to the editor, which we 99.9%, let's be honest, 100% of the time we're going to be doing, then, you know, we may as well load it. And especially because it's extra awkward now it's running on a web server, right? Because now it's asking me for a local file of story settings. Okay, perhaps the fetch is blocked. I have a variable in-game called server root, and all my asset paths are relative to that. So it makes sense to store my story settings on the server with the editor in my scripts. Is there a way to allow the fetch to occur on my server Absolutely. If you have a variable called server root that points to the root URL of your server, you can use it to construct the correct path for fetching story settings.json from your server, regardless of where the HTML file is loaded from. How to use server root for fetch? Okay. Okay, so where do I define server root in this file then? Or is it now asking me for it? We're on the server again. This is what I'm talking about when you have 15 different versions of your fucking thing that you're working on. That's story settings. Fuck my life. So where do I define server root for this then? Server root is a variable in Unity where do I define it for this script? Great question for your HTML. Is it a great question? Okay. Great question. For your HTML JavaScript to use the server root variable, it must be defined in the browser before your script tries to use it. Yeah, no shit. I don't know why I'm having to... I don't understand, right? One time yesterday, it was just going into the script and making the changes by itself, which is fine because I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm not really a fucking JavaScript guy. I know some HTML, I know a little bit of JavaScript, but I'm not really good at it. Okay, server root. Where do we define server root? var server root equals, okay, here we go, https play compile .uk idle. Okay. So fuck me. Which version am I loading? I need to be in here and I need to load the one off downloads. There we are. And it's still not loading the file. I think it's starting to hallucinate or something. I don't think it knows what I'm talking about. I think it's confused. It loads story settings manually, but now it doesn't load the images. The images are broken. Okay. Okay. I'm confused. I set the image URLs for speakers relatively. Images, avatars, AVA, question mark, .png. Since the change, they are now broken. And also the settings file still doesn't auto load. I set the image URLs for speakers relatively. Since the change, they are now broken, and also the setting file doesn't auto load. Let's clarify and address both issues. Speaker avatar URLs broken. When you set server root, the code now fetches story settings from that absolute URL. However, if your speaker avatar URLs are relative, and your HTML is loaded from a different location. No, it's not loaded from a different location. Oh my god, you're butchering everything! It's butchering everything. It's butchering everything. It's butchering everything. It's okay because I didn't. It's definitely butchering everything. You know, I think maybe we just live with the fucking settings file loading, but we need to get the version that doesn't break the fucking URLs. So the version that's on the website probably still works, I think. Yeah, it does, because we didn't upload it because it wasn't working. So this version that's on the website is fine. I wish it would load settings by itself, but apparently that's too difficult. Which is stupid, right? Because like these are loaded. I'm sure it's not actually that difficult. But I think it's what I noticed with AI is it's like after a certain amount of time it starts to hallucinate, right? It's like there's definitely a limit to its auto predict, and once you get however many thousands of lines deep, I think it just starts to get tangled up. I'm sure it'll get better in the future, but for now, yeah, there seems to be a limit to it. But it made more. I mean, between Cursor and GPT, those two AIs really kind of made most of this by themselves. I designed it, but they kind of coded most of it, and I mean by most of it, I mean like 99% of it. So that's really impressive. Like, I'm really impressed. I wouldn't have this system right now if it wasn't for AI, large language models. And that's freaking awesome. It really is. But, yeah, there are a couple of little tweaks I would like, but I think I'm sort of starting to bump up against the limits now. Which is a shame. Either that or something else is going wrong with it. So yeah, this version seems to be fine, the one that's on the server, so I think I'll just restore that one. So our previous editor, our previous image, basically we're deleting everything down to when we started making this yesterday. Blocks.json. I need to keep that instruction manual though, because that should be getting delivered today. So we'll delete everything except the camera manual. Boop. I don't know if it is coming today, maybe it's tomorrow. Right, we want to delete all of this. And I do like to... Where is my server backup? Do I have a server backup? I probably should have a server backup. Yeah, I mean this is pretty much my website backup. This is what used to be the GitHub version of it. So I think I should back up everything that's on my web server here in htdocs. But just in case, we'll call this htdocs old. And then we'll create a new htdocs. Although I think that one's safe to delete, but anyway. And then we'll go to my server root. And yeah, we should probably back this up. It's been a while. How do I download everything? Download to D Zambi htdocs. Go. Alright, that should fetch everything off the web server for me. There we go. And then we have a backup of the website, the entire web server, which includes that editor and settings and everything else. Cool! I don't know, I feel like, how long have we been? We've only been going 3.5 hours. I do want to do more, but I feel like I lost all my viewers, which makes sense because this is probably boring as fuck to watch. But I like to sort of document parts of this so you can see what my flow is, and hopefully it's useful to somebody. But I think I'd do the rest of this off stream. But yeah, the next stage is, I think you can probably tell, I'm gonna have that settings file load in. So we'll use a stream reader and we'll load this settings file in, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna create. What I might want to do is store the reference to the 3D model in the Storyblock Builder itself. I don't know, because otherwise there's a couple of ways of going about doing it, right? Otherwise we need to create like a mirror. I mean, this is our structure, right? At the end of the day, like this is our structure of avatars. It's like kind of our structure of characters. Like all of these characters follow obviously a sequence. So I don't know if it's necessary to and actually, am I right in thinking, because our models, if we look at the structure of our models, it's kind of tricky right now because this is obviously backing up. But I think the avatars themselves, the assets themselves rather, yeah, they follow the same numbering system as the avatars. So we can easily code it as long as we stick to that format, right? For all future games or whatever. I can always change it if I need to. But like for this game anyway, right? As long as we stick to this format where the avatar number matches the asset number, right, in our assets, then yeah, we, as we find new NPCs and whatever, we automatically just look for a 22, 23, 24, whatever character number we're up to, and we know exactly where we should be finding them, and it's in this folder here. So I don't see any reason. I don't think we need to store any more information. I think it should be automated. We've already, in a way, we've already paired the name of the character to their number, literally within these two lines, right? We can strip that number out, and now we know the character number, and we can just look for it in assets and pull it in. So I don't think we need to store and repeat ourselves or store any more information, because we have a set structure and we know where to look. We can strip that number out, look in this folder here for the asset, and then pull the asset by the number automatically when we know a character needs to be loaded into the scene. But yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, thinking about it then, do I even need, because what I was going to do is I was going to create a separate list like in the inspector in Unity that basically like lets me point to where the avatar, like where these files are for each character who appears in the story. But I think we can automate it with logic, right? We already have the character number. We already know where we store our assets. So we should just look for the file by name by asset, right? It follows a very consistent logical flow. So there's no reason we can't just hard code that in, I think. So yeah, I don't think I need to store a separate list. I think we still load the story settings file so we know where to look for all the characters. So I still want to read this file line by line in Unity, and then I want to create, because we need the list of names. So if we go in here, right, I started putting together a list of names, right? So these are speakers. And so what I want to do is I want to list all the speakers from the settings file. And then as we find a new dialog block and we know that gIRLS is speaking, we can find the reference to our avatar, pull our avatar in, use logic to look in the assets folder for the same character ID in the assets folder, and then we have everything we need to pull them in and out of the story at will, right? And so yeah, I think that's as far as we need to go. I think that should be it. But I'm going to leave it there anyway, the stream at least, and that, I'll probably plod on with this a little bit more. Things are still kind of crazy right now, as you can imagine. Even I might have mild version of COVID right now because I felt like fucking shit the last couple of days. Or maybe I'm just under the weather. It is funny, I felt under the weather and now I found out my stepdad's got COVID and he's in hospital with it. So I might be exhibiting some side effects of that. I don't know, because I've been helping him out a lot and I don't even want to go into detail. But let's just say I've been in some situations where he could have very easily passed it on to me. But maybe it's a blessing in disguise, or maybe it's a good thing, because I don't know if I've had COVID before up to this point. If I have, then I kind of just brushed it off. And I think I'm going to do the same this time. Like, yeah, I do feel a bit shit, but it's not like, you know, I can still get on. So if I've got it, then, you know, maybe it's a good thing. Antibodies, get over it, brilliant. Had it, done, dusted, get it over with. If I don't have it, then, I don't know, I guess I just feel under the weather and, you know, it is what it is. But either way, let me take my itchy pills. But yeah, I think this is a really good idea. Yeah, I'm as happy as can be. Like, I genuinely think this is exactly what I wanted. Like, there's no like compromises made here. Like, this is exactly what I wanted out of a story building system, and it's structured exactly the way I want it to be structured. I have complete control over it. I think it's awesome. And pairing the two together between Unity and, you know, this JavaScript thing seems pretty straightforward. But yeah, like I said, because I'm not a JavaScript guy, I will admit that like AI has helped me out phenomenally here. I don't know how long this would have took if it wasn't for AI, because I'd have to have learned how to do all of this stuff from scratch, right? So I imagine this could have took me a couple of weeks. I would have got there eventually, but like it would have taken me weeks, and instead it's taken me a day. So like that's really good. And this is, and the best part is, and this is another thing I will say that I think I'm learning, is like you build, like you do the same thing over and over again. If you make a lot of games, you find that you're just making the same things over and over again, and at a certain point you feel like, well, shouldn't I have like the best version of this by now that I can just reuse over and over again? Because like, rather than keep making the same thing over and over and over again, you know, I should have like a pre-made thing that I can just pick up and use. And so that's kind of where I'm getting to with this project, is okay, I don't just want to build systems for this game, I want to build systems that I can use for future games. And this is a great step in that direction, I would say. Awesome. All right, I'll leave it there. Thank you for watching. Bye.